So, our second speaker for the evening is Miss Reena Ahuja. Miss Reena Ahuja is a founder partner and director of people management practice at Smart Head Consulting. With over 2 decades of experience in management roles in multinational corporations, she has helped professionalize HR functions, institutionalize policies and procedures with organization transformation and change management at Smart Head Consulting. She has extensive experience in strategic business management with a focus on efficiency enhancement, talent and capability building, and management amongst other operations. Miss Reena, could you please proceed with the session?
Thank you, Riddhi. Um, and thank you, everyone, for being here today. I think the previous presentation was quite elaborate. There were a lot of things that you heard from Mr. Sanjay, and I feel that if there was more time, then he could have probably elaborated much of what has been mentioned as only bullet points. But what I did see is, and I'm sure all of you did, is that there is going to be a plethora of options available as you move forward from this current phase into what we see as the post-pandemic phase. So when we talk about post-pandemic, I'm sure it's about a time when Vriddhi, can I share my screen instead of this the presentation that you've put up? Okay, never mind. Because I think there's been some formatting that's been done to the presentation and it's looking a little different from how I had actually made it out to be. But never mind. Um, so when we talk about the pandemic, I think it's still virulent. There is some sign of abatement, but we have a long way to go before things begin to look somewhat normal, somewhat what we've been used to for the past so many years. And what we do see still is that for many months to come, we are probably going to be more indoors than outdoors, and perhaps doing pretty much what we are or what we have been doing in the last 10 months, keeping ourselves safe, protected, and trying to see how best we can adapt to what we call the new normal. Vidhi, can you go to the next slide, please? Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So when we look at what has changed in the last 10 months, I think we have really gone through so many things that were not what we were used to. Our social habits have changed, what we eat, the kind of stuff that we eat, and how and it's prepared and where we procure it from. That's changed. How we keep ourselves engaged other than work has changed tremendously. We've seen how students from junior school, nursery to even people who are doing their research have had to adapt to a very different way of learning and attending classes. A sense of hygiene, I think, has, especially in India, has gone a tremendous change because what we used to pride ourselves on about eating everything off the streets and being very immune to everything has possibly been turned absolutely on its head. Our dressing habits definitely have changed because we're more indoors. Uh, a lot of times it's very funny because I've seen people get up from presentations with being very well dressed from as much as can be viewed on the camera. Uh, and definitely, since we aren't going out as much, so that's changed. Our relationships have changed. We're more with parents at home. We're more with our siblings, with pets. We're probably closer to nature because we have got the time now instead of running after uh, trying to reach office or battling traffic jams. Shopping habits definitely have moved. Our fitness routines. I mean, this list could go on and on and on and on. I could, you could add many. I could add even more, and which means that there's been a lot of things that are very new, and and that's something that is going to open up a lot of opportunities. So what we're looking at, what would happen, you know, post pandemic, many it says still seems very far away, maybe a few months. Some say it could be as much as the end of the next year, which is 2021, when we begin to see life a little similar to what it used to be when we started out in early 2020. Can we go to the next slide, please? So what are the changes that's happened? Things that are looking very different is work from home may continue to be a way of life, because organizations have realized, people have realized that nothing, there are lots of things that can be done as well from home, and possibly better. And those professions will perhaps continue to enjoy the benefit of working from home, if I might call that. Education and training have already gone digital, but there's a lot of scope of improvement. And with that, there would be a lot of training of the trainers that will come into play. We perhaps will not have to travel so much from work, because earlier we used to just take a flight to for a 1 hour meeting to Chennai, or for some training session to attend in Dubai, and that's definitely going to change. What we've seen is, because there's going to be a lot of work from home, people are not going to be, organizations are not going to invest so much in real estate and pick up swanky offices, and invest in building cafeterias at work, or creating very swanky office layouts. Um, and that's definitely a move that's already, we see that's already in action. And since that's going to happen, what's going to change is, those big office servers, which were used because we wanted extra processing power, and we kept adding more and more machines, and then the cabling, which was all around the office, and many other related equipment. Everything is probably going to look much smaller and much different from what it is today. We're going to be using more handheld devices, like your tablets and your phones and so on, and it will give us more flexibility. So office and all of that is going to possibly be a thing to go to if there is a real need. So can we go to the next slide, please? In addition, I think this presentation's probably got a little mixed up in terms of slides because of the formatting change, but never mind. Um, what we've seen as cloud-based services, things like cloud as a service, of software as a service, everything is now a lot of times cloud-based. But what we'll see is that cloud as a service is going to be offered. So your Amazon Web Services, which are hosting a lot of software and services, will themselves offer the whole cloud or part of the cloud as a service to people. Then there are home offices that would need to be spruced up because people are going to be working from home, and that seems to be a long-term change. We've also seen that hospitalization in this corona era has actually been at home and has been managed well by health professionals, by people who come over to your residences and can manage people who are unwell. So unless it's a real critical illness where you need some emergency services or the ventilator or some specialized machines, a lot of hospitalization will be moved homewards. So even post surgery, you might be required to stay in the hospital for maybe 3 days, and then home services are going to pick up from there. So that's going to change. What we also see is many do-it-yourself activities are going to pick up. So people are going to be learning to do a lot with their hands. Um, so when we look at what's going to change, uh, there's going to be a change in how the career perspective is going to look. People are now not going to look so much at how long they can continue in one particular job, or job security, or or options of uh, you know staying put in one organization. But what is more important when post pandemic we'll see is financial security, because we've seen a lot of people who were longer in jobs but did not have a great bank balance, or were asked to leave, were not able to survive on the savings that they had, will would have taken a very difficult lesson to learn and would now focus on financial security. A lot of career options would and decisions would be based on what kind of health benefits uh, are people going to get. Next would be, is it good to be a generalist or is it good to be a specialist? So that perspective is also going to change. When you say that it is good to be a generalist, it would possibly open doors to professions that might wean away, in some other emergency, in some other time. Whereas you could pick up something which something else that you were good at. Being a specialist and being only confined to a niche and suddenly losing the relevance of that niche is something that is very scary. That's what we've learned today. People are going to pick up more qualifications so that they're more agile in picking up career options. Within thinking about what you should do to prepare yourself for a career post pandemic would be critical thinking and creativity. How can you make things different? How can you be more creative with what you do already? How can devices, things, services look very different? So that critical thinking is going to be required uh, as you step out of the pandemic, to ensure that you have a bigger and better and a long lasting career. Technology, technology, technology. You've seen the previous presentation. There's so much that is going to be technology centric, and it's going to be forever and ever from now onwards. Whether it is to do with technology at home, at work, possibly, everything is going to change, but it's going to be pretty predominantly technology centric. We've already heard Sanjay say that gig assignments, which means assignments which are at will, are going to be in vogue, which means that, being an employee in one company and getting a paycheck is going to move towards being self-employed, knowing what your strengths are, knowing how to be rewarded for that is what is going to be the future. And as I said, it's not going to be so much about that one job security, but all of these that are going to be the new normal when you step out of the pandemic. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, what are the career choices that people can make? Um, what seems to emerge is that there's going to be a lot of work around being digital. Whether it is marketing, whether it's education, banking, health, entertainment, the list is very long. And when we say digital, it is not just about being able to use a device. It is being able to enable the world to use that device, to use the technologies to assist even people who are not technology savvy today, to help them become more technology savvy, to get digital, because there's no getting away. So when we say everything will go digital, which means that it is going to open up a plethora of career options for people, right from creating the softwares, creating the interfaces, and helping people become digital. And as we go digital, what we will have to work on is design, especially digital design, which we call UX, UI, user interface, and user experience. Design would also mean, design of interiors. Your houses could look very different because you probably need to have an office in there, or a classroom for your children. Maybe it might change, but even if it's temporary, there might be certain things that could be done from home with reference to learning, and not so many uh, hours could be spent at school. Much lesser hours can be spent at school. Spent at school. Fashion design could change. Design of your devices. I mean, the design function is probably going to take a huge leap from where it is today. What is also going to change is medicine. Of course, medical as a profession is always going to be at the top, but people have now started exploring treatments which are more holistic, Ayurvedic, homeopathic, Greek, and so on. So there are going to be those avenues which are going to open up. Could you go to the next slide, please? Health and fitness. I think I've seen people who have gradually procured gym equipment, they've procured weights, they have started getting advice from people online for how to remain fit, kind of exercises to be done, what kind of diet to eat when you're not stepping out so much and exercising out in the open or going to the gym. In terms of fitness, there's classes, yoga sessions, there is even sports injuries or injuries at home which can be healed through sessions on acupressure and possibly physiotherapy, which can be done by yourself. So that's going to be another area. What we see is that a lot of training is going to go the device way. So you will have small learning modules. You'll have training which is can be on the go. So we're not going to have huge seminars uh, where we hire hotels and seminar premises and entertain thousands and thousands of people, spend a lot of money. So corporations have figured out that micro learning and learning using video conferencing and technology is perhaps going to pick up and be as effective. Another space that is going to emerge is entertainment. You can see how effective, and we did not miss the cinema halls as much in this pandemic because of the OTT platforms. And there's a lot of gaming that's going to come up to keep people entertained at home. And gaming is going to be in such a way that uh, there might be a lot of learning built around gaming. So that's another domain which is going to be very challenging. And as you saw in your previous presentation, technology, there's going to be a lot of technology around communication, around bandwidth, around fiber to home, satellite communications to link up the remote areas, and technologies of artificial intelligence, machine learning, getting to do things remotely using machines, Internet of Things. All of that is going to pick up and be, the domain of the future. Um, what we also see is assisted services. Like I said earlier, things are going to go digital. So there might be a lot of people who need assistance in how to be better teachers online, how to use banking services, how to use other services which people are not still used to. I mean, there's a sizable population who is above 50 who's somewhat savvy, but there's a sizable number in that age group who might need services uh, to get acclimatized to digital processes. So can I go to the next slide, please? Yes. And coming back to what would continue to remain would be medical. There's still a lot of research. Research is not just on to do with science, biotechnology, which is going to be key, but research in all areas, whether it is communication, whether it is transportation, uh, technologies, construction technologies, uh, every area, because research will bring out the new things, it'll bring out the innovation, and that is one area which continue to be strong. Law, engineering and construction, software and technology services, finance and accounting, those will still remain, however, in a very different format. And there are going to be a lot of changes in all of these. Medical science is going to go, the telemedicine way. Law is also going to be going pretty much in a manner where many things could possibly be done over the net. Engineering and construction, the whole design concept could change. So we'll see that these professions will continue to be very strong, but in a very different